Welcome to the Explainer. Today, we're going to peel back the sticker price to really understand the hidden mechanics of business costs. We're going to figure out what it actually costs to make the things we buy every single day. So, let me ask you this. You ever see a $4 cupcake and just think, no way, that's a total ripoff? Well, that price tag is actually the final sentence in a very long story. A story about rent, ingredients, wages, and a ton of other hidden costs. So let's peel back that wrapper and see what's really inside. And to really get to the bottom of it, we're going to roll up our sleeves and become entrepreneurs ourselves. For the next few minutes, you and I are opening our very own bakery. Every single decision we make, from renting a space to buying flour, is going to reveal the true costs of doing business. Okay, aprons on. Our first job as bakery owners isn't actually to bake anything. Nope, it's to think. What really goes into the price of one cupcake? And I promise you, it's a whole lot more than just flour and sugar. Now, before we even preheat the oven, we have to wrap our heads around a key concept in economics: time. You see, for a business, time isn't just about minutes and hours. It's about flexibility. It's about the decisions you can make and the ones you're kind of stuck with. Let's start with day one. We've just signed the lease, we bought the big oven, and we're ready to start baking. In the world of economics, this whole initial period is what they call the short run. Just think of the short run as the stuck with what you've got phase. That lease we signed? Yeah, we're locked in. That big oven we bought? It's bolted to the floor. We can't just magically make the kitchen bigger overnight. These fixed things are basically the walls of our sandbox, and for right now, we've got to play inside them. So because some of our resources are fixed, our costs immediately split into two different buckets. First, we've got our fixed costs. That's stuff like our monthly rent or the loan for the oven. We have to pay those whether we sell one cupcake or 1,000. Then we have our variable costs, things like flour, sugar, electricity. Those costs go up with every single cupcake we bake. Now, I know this graph might look a little intense, but it tells a really simple story. See that flat green line at the bottom, the TFC? That's our rent. Total fixed cost. It doesn't care if we sell 0 cupcakes or 1,000,000. It's going to stay the same. Now look at that blue line, the TVC. That's climbing upwards. That's our flour, sugar, all that good stuff. The more we bake, the more we spend. And our total cost? That's the top black line. It's just those two added together. That's the whole cost story on one page. All right, business is booming. Our cupcakes are a huge hit and we're selling out every single day. So the obvious next step is to hire some help, right? But adding more people to the mix introduces a really fascinating twist to our cost story. It's a challenge that every growing business has to face. So we start by hiring our first baker, and wow, productivity goes through the roof. Then we hire a second baker, and things get even better. They can specialize, work as a team. But then we add a third, and, our little kitchen starts to feel kind of cramped. By the time we hire a fourth baker, they're literally bumping elbows and getting in each other's way. Our output per person actually starts to drop. So that feeling of the kitchen getting way too crowded, that is not just in our heads. It's a fundamental economic principle. It's called the law of diminishing marginal returns. It's the simple idea that if you keep adding more of one thing, like our bakers, to a fixed space, like our kitchen, each new person is eventually going to add less to the total output than the person before them. It's true. Too many cooks really do spoil the broth and the profits. And here it is. This is what that crowded kitchen effect looks like on a graph. Just focus on that blue line, our marginal cost, or MC. That's the cost of producing just one more cupcake. See how it dips at first? That's our first and second bakers finding their groove, being super efficient. But then, as that third and fourth baker show up, it gets more chaotic, more expensive to make that next cupcake, and the blue line starts to climb, pulling the average cost up right along with it. That U-shape tells the whole story of efficiency and, well, inefficiency. So the magic moment is right here, where those two curves cross. That point at the very, very bottom of the U-shape, that's not just a point on a graph. That is our sweet spot. It represents the absolute most efficient level of production for our bakery right now. If we try to produce any more than this, each extra cupcake is actually going to start costing us more on average. It's the mathematical signal screaming at us that we've outgrown our kitchen. Okay, so our short-run bakery is a massive success. But we've hit our limit. We've hit our efficiency ceiling. The only way to grow now is to think bigger. We have to leave the short run behind and enter the long run. Welcome to the long run, where those sandbox walls are completely gone. In this phase, nothing is fixed. We can tear up that lease, knock down walls, build a brand new massive bakery, buy a whole fleet of ovens. Every single part of our business is back on the table, ready to be scaled out.
And this is where size becomes a superpower. It's called economies of scale. Suddenly, we're not just buying a bag of flour, we're buying a whole truckload at a huge discount. We're not just hiring bakers, we're hiring a head of pastry, a frosting specialist, a logistics manager. All this specialization makes everything cheaper and more efficient for each cupcake we sell.
But there's a dark side to getting huge. It's known as diseconomies of scale. The business can become this giant, slow-moving beast. It's so much harder to manage. That personal touch we had is gone, and employees can start to feel like they're just another number. It's that point where being big starts creating more problems than it solves. And this final curve, the LRAC, it's like the master plan for our entire business. Each of those little red U-shapes represents a different sized bakery we could choose to build. As we move to the right, we're getting bigger and more efficient. That's our economies of scale working, driving costs down. But if we go too far, you see the curve starts to rise again. That's our business becoming bloated and inefficient. The ultimate goal for any company is to build a business that operates at the lowest possible point on this big U-shape, the perfect size for maximum efficiency. So this all brings us to a really important final question. I mean, if growing big can make you more efficient, why are there still so many small bakeries, small coffee shops, and small businesses all around us?
Well, the answer is pretty simple. Small isn't always just a phase. A lot of times, it's the destination. Staying small can be a really powerful strategy. It lets a business offer a personal touch that a giant corporation could never even dream of. It builds intense customer loyalty. And hey, for some things, like a perfectly crafted, one-of-a-kind wedding cake, mass production would completely ruin the very thing that makes it special.
What all this shows us is that success in business isn't always about being the biggest. It's about being the smartest. It's about finding your perfect size, whether that's a beloved corner bakery or a global cupcake empire. The real cost of business, it turns out, is really just the price of the choices you make along the way.